Hello, I'm Armin Budish. Welcome to Golden Opportunities.
Today, if you have diabetes and are on Medicare, we'll provide you with information about saving money. Don't just move to a new home, move to a new way of life. We'll explain. Then we'll pitch a few options to score a winning smile. And draw you in with news of a landscape exhibit. Plus, a new law may unintentionally cut your spouse out of any inheritance. Find out why.
April showers means we're ready to shower you with great information all month long, beginning today. So pull up a chair and join us at our kitchen table for Golden Opportunities. Maybe you've been ordering your diabetes supplies for years from a company you trust, but now Medicare's telling you that they won't cover the costs anymore. What happened? They always paid before. Mark Wolf is a pharmacist and CEO of Diabetic Care Services and Pharmacy, and he's here to explain what has changed. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
You're welcome. Pleasure being here.
Mark, so what did change?
What changed, unfortunately, is that Medicare enacted their competitive bidding law as of January 1st of this year. And what it really did is it limited the ability of people to get their supplies from where they're used to getting it from and the type of supplies they want on a regular basis. So all of a sudden, people have to look elsewhere for their products.
So you can still get through mail order, but only certain companies now can do the mail order?
Exactly. There's certain companies that Medicare has chosen, and unfortunately that they were chosen based upon low cost, and there was no recognition of quality or experience involved at all. So.
And the purpose of this was to bring down costs for people around the country? Was that the idea?
It is the purpose, but unfortunately it may not be necessarily in the long run the best solution, because by cutting costs where you're limiting supplies, people are going to end up in the hospital more often, and other things would happen where they could take care of their health at home, and that's what it's all about, is home health care.
Will this affect a lot of people in the Cleveland, Northeast Ohio area?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we have well over 200,000 people, Medicare beneficiaries, living in the Cleveland area with some form of diabetes. So they are a regular user of their diabetes testing supplies, and what is going to happen is most people got their diabetes testing supplies probably about the end of last year. They usually get a 3-month supply. So what's going to happen is people are going to start reordering, and they're going to really starting to realize the effect that this law has, which means limited availability of their supplies.
What kinds of supplies are we talking about?
Well, we're really talking about the supplies that the diabetic uses on a regular basis: the blood glucose meters, the test strips, and the Lancets. And these are the supplies that they depend on day in and day out. And what's going to happen, unfortunately, because of this new Medicare law, Medicare, they're going to have to either A, look for a different place, or B, try to figure out how to use a different type of blood glucose meter, because the one they're using, they aren't going to be able to get any longer.
If they've been buying their supplies from, or getting their supplies from a company, and they trust the company, and the company's not on this approved list now, is there any alternative? Can you still use the company somehow?
Well, there is an alternative in Cleveland, and that's Diabetic Care Services and Pharmacy, because what we're able to do is deliver the supplies to the patient's home, and within their Cleveland area, which would be the Cuyahoga, Lorain, Medina, Geauga, and Lake counties.
All right, so you're not on the approved list, but that people can still use your company and others like yours that are off the list if they do personal delivery as opposed to mail order?
I can't speak for what other people or other companies do, but based upon what we're able to do in the Cleveland area, yes, we're able to meet the needs of the patients living with diabetes, because we deliver in our own company vehicles.
If you have a company like yours that does personal delivery, doesn't that cost more than using mail order?
Absolutely not. Because we deliver the diabetes supplies at no cost. It is free. So we also take care of all their insurance paperwork, and the most important thing, they have the choice of the products that they want. They're not being restricted by ordering with us, so we're able to give them the brand name products they're used to getting.
So what a person needs to do is check with their company, see if they're still on the list. If they're on the list, they're fine. If they're not on the list, they should ask whether they have this alternative, like you're talking about, or some other alternative, personal delivery being, and otherwise they have to go to a different company.
Well, that's true, and we hope that they would want to reach out to us, because we'd be happy to take care of them.
Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Appreciate it, Mark. So the bad news is your old reliable mail order provider might have been blacklisted. The good news is there are still no-cost options available. For example, you may still be able to get free delivery from a local company. My thanks to Mark Wolf for joining us today.
To find out more, call Diabetic Care Services and Pharmacy at 1-877-794-1999 or log on to www.diabeticcareservices.com. Next, why checking out a retirement community's services will serve you well. But first, the trick to telling a tree's age by counting its rings probably rings a bell. But answer this: who was the first to draw this artful conclusion? We'll frame the answer when we return.
We're Gateway Title, keeping life simple. We can make it simple. We've got everything you need. See how easy selling your home can be. We're Gateway Title. We're keeping life simple.
Leonardo da Vinci not only painted portraits, Da Vinci was the guy who ran rings around several scientists with his creative curiosity. One illustration, his rendering of how a tree reveals its age by the rings packed in its trunk.
After surviving this brutal winter, the image of a carefree retirement community might sound heavenly. Music and theater, restaurants, swimming, fitness training, all without the snow and ice. David Schell, Executive Director of Breckenridge Village Retirement Community in Willoughby, is here to give us a down-to-earth view of this heavenly option. Thanks for being here today.
It's nice to be here today, Armin.
So, David, are retirement communities nirvana or retirement purgatory?
Well, we'd kind of like to think of them as nirvana, Armin. I think that we look at the individual's needs, and we see so many people that are so active and engaged. And at Breckenridge Village, we look at the triad of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, and we know that quality of life and quality aging, that each of those three components are so critically important. And kind of like a three-legged stool, if one's not in balance, it's not good for a high-quality life.
Well, let's take each one separately. Let's start with the mental component. How do you address that?
Sure. I think mental activity, that old adage that if you don't use it, you lose it, is certainly true. And we know that active mental function is critically important. My mother, who's a resident of Breckenridge Village, she does the New York Times crossword puzzle from start to finish every day, active in Scrabble. And it's so important. We also have a program called DACOM Brain Fitness. It was developed by a group of scientists and researchers that really looked at areas of cognitive functioning. And this program actually tests and then brings skill sets for that individuals, and that helps tremendously in keeping mentally fit.
And you also have music programs and theater programs and right on the campus.
Great programs, all kinds of activities as far as book reviews, access to the arts, a lot of great functions. This is a group that went to the World War II Museum, all kinds of activities.
Field trips too.
Field trips and art classes and things to keep people engaged and involved. Just absolutely wonderful.
Sounds great. All right, so now that you've talked about the brain teasers, if you will, tell us about the spiritual component.
Well, I think one of the things that, irregardless of someone's faith background, that spirituality, we know as individuals grow older from social gerontologists, of how important it is to have a faith base, a spiritual base. and that at times of needs, times of enjoyment, that is a critically important component.
And you provide programs, faith programs on campus?
Yes, we have a chapel on campus. We have programs that bring in other faith-based and do educational series. And
do you have to be a particular faith at Breckenridge, for example?
Not at all. We're a non-denominational provider. Our roots are in the Presbyterian Church, but we're a non-denominational provider of services.
Great. And how do you fit in fitness?
Oh, that's probably one of the greatest components. We're very fortunate that we just opened up the new VO Wellness and Aquatic Center, a 7,000 square foot building that we were able to construct through donations, which is even better. Has an aquatic area here. I think you're seeing a picture of the new pool area, and
wow.
We do a lot of aquatic fitness programs, therapy geared towards specific needs and skill sets, and walking tracks, fitness equipment, all kinds of components.
It's interesting because a lot of people, I think of community, continuing care community as sort of like a step to nursing homes, but I mean with the swimming pool and the theater and everything, I mean this is more like a resort in some way. I mean, well, certainly it doesn't strike me like a nursing home.
No, and I think that's probably one of the things that most people have an image that they're changing their life, and really we're enhancing lifestyle, and independent living is the major component of it.
But if you do get sick, then at a place like Breckenridge, you do have options for people who need more care as well.
The continuum is available, and it offers assisted living, skilled care, home health care services, a myriad of services to keep people independent and engaged.
Thank you so much, David. Very interesting. So lots of folks think that a retirement community is just a nice nursing home, but as David has explained, this is just not true. Actually, a retirement community could help you stay out of a nursing home. For more information, check out David's booklet. It's really good. Thoughts on Retirement. Call the number coming up next for your free copy. My thanks to David Schell.
For more information, call Breckenridge Village at 440-954-8359 or log on to www.breckenridgeohio.org. Next, a winning season of smiles. Looking for places to go, things to do? Welcome to our community calendar. It's a party for the planet. This year marks the 41st anniversary of Earth Day, and you can go green by going to the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo April 17th for Earth Fest. Enjoy environmental education, eco-friendly activities and exhibits, and, of course, awesome animals. You can unearth information by calling 216-661-6500 or discover a world of details at www.clemetzoo.com.
What's your game plan for a winning smile? We're going to pitch you some great ideas that are sure to be a hit. We've called up dentist Steve Marsh from his office dugout to play ball with us on this topic today. Thank you very much for coming, Steve. And you're a big baseball fan. That's something that I've known for a long time. You're there. You go to the Indians training camp and home opener. You were just there, and we've got a super fan as well as a super dentist. What's your lineup for viewers who want to hit a home run with their smile?
You certainly have used the baseball metaphor. In fact, recently I was just at spring training, as you mentioned, and combined that actually with a dental course out in Phoenix and got to see the Indians. But beyond that, you know, when you go to spring training, you see the team is looking at new players and that sort of thing. They're evaluating who can play what position, whether some are worth keeping and some go to the minors. Well, when we meet patients the first time and when we've established a relationship and they want me to do either a makeover or just see what they can keep and what isn't good, we do a very thorough evaluation from x-rays to models, that sort of thing. So that, like the Indians, we see who's worth it to keep, who isn't, and what we can do to improve their game. And that's really what we're talking about in dentistry.
All right, so you see how the teeth play in their different positions. I'm going to keep going with this analogy as long as I can. Well, then what?
Well, then we have to actually make a game plan, very much like the Indians do. Where are we going to play them, as I said. And what we do with dentistry is today we'll take photographs and we do a very good job at evaluating what they have. We need to know what the patient needs as well as what we need. I'll actually invite patients to draw on the photograph. The other thing is we do prototypes, Armand. The Indians may look at a chart to see where they're going to play different people. We actually do it with models, and this is a patient where we took a model. She had a very wide space, and then we did a wax prototype to show the patient what we thought they could achieve in dentistry. And so, like the Indians make a plan, we make a plan. The prototypes work, Armand, and they work whether you're doing one tooth, two, or a whole mouthful. It's very important for your viewers to know that regardless of the amount of work a dentist can do, you really need to do your due diligence and plan it out before they actually get started.
All right, so now I want you to go to some examples of patients that have run the dental bases, if you will, and scored a big smile.
All right, I'd be glad to.
Okay.
It's interesting, your last patient was, not patient, but your last guest talked about retirement. And this is a patient who's a teacher who was approaching retirement. And so she also wanted to maximize her dental insurance, if you will, and had some problems. And before we ever did her teeth, we did these photos and then we did some models. She liked what we put together, and the after picture shows what we did with porcelain veneers. We removed some of her older crowns that had decay or leakage, if you will, and that gave her a beautiful smile. She was able to use it over 2 years, and that's how we were able to maximize her insurance as well. This patient had a lot of dentistry done. She's in her 70s over the years. She came to me, and one of the things that's important is how long does it take? She spends part of her year in Florida, so she said, listen, I have a few months, can you do it? And again, we did a prototype, put our ideas together. We removed those upper front crowns and put all porcelain crowns. That's one of the things that we're able to do. And again, she would spend a lot of time with me looking at colors and shades and shapes. So that we went into this restoration knowing exactly what she wanted to achieve.
All right, can you do one more?
One, maybe even another if I can. This patient came in, she's in sales and never liked the way her smile looked. The teeth had rotated over the years, she had lost one tooth, and just didn't give her a very pretty smile. A very outgoing person, but she said when she met people, she didn't always smile the way she would like. She was ashamed of it, even with pictures. So we ended up doing these with porcelain veneers, reshaped the lowers. Doing 8 or 10 teeth gave her this absolutely beautiful smile.
Sounds great, Steve. Always great information, and the pictures are amazing.
Well, we again, it's part of being a team, as you had suggested at the beginning of this introduction.
All right, it's your turn up to bat. If you want to take a swing at getting a new smile and you want to make sure you hit it out of the park, give the dentist who's always on the ball a call. Steve's number's next.
See what Dr. Marsh can do for your smile by calling 440-461-1003 or visit www.clevelandsmiles.com. Next, painting a picture of lovely landscapes. It's time to get up and go. An exercise minute on Golden Opportunities.
Hi, I'm Mike Harbin from Breakout Fitness, and today we're going to do an abdominal crunch. All right, we got our mats out. You ready to go?
I don't know about doing something called the crunch.
Let's give it a shot. All right, lay back with me. I want your feet flat on the floor so your legs are in an angle. Beautiful. Now we're going to place our hands on our thighs and keeping our chin up in the air so our spine stays in alignment. Slide your palms up your thighs to your knee, and then let your shoulder blades come back to the mat. Pull your shoulder blades off and slide your hands up while relaxing and letting them back down. Let's see what you got.
They don't go all the way to the knee. I need longer arms, that's all.
You're doing good. Let's just keep your chin up a little bit, and we're going to slow control movements to bring our hands to the knees. There you go. Yeah, he has it now. All right, everybody, now it's your turn to get up and go.
I got my knees.
For your copy of the exercise booklet, please send $1 for postage to Golden Opportunities, 23240 Chagrin Boulevard, Suite 450, Beechwood, Ohio, 44122.
Do you have a negative impression of photography exhibits? If so, you will positively change your mind after viewing the awesome landscapes of our Great Plains, our national parks, and the Colorado Rockies at the Cleveland Museum of Art, no less. Caroline Guscott is here to give us a snapshot of the exhibit titled Landscapes from the Collection. Caroline is a communications associate at the museum. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Armin. I'm happy to be here.
When we think of famous landscape photography, I think most people would think of Ansel Adams. Are any of his works in this exhibit?
Definitely. He's included. Ansel Adams is iconic. He is really what comes to mind when people think of landscape photography. He is very influential. He's well known. He's influential because he has definitely greatly affected photographers, his colleagues as well as photographers following him.
And this is
yes, this is a photograph in the exhibit. It is called Thunderstorm Over the Great Plains. It was done in 1961, and it was taken on the it's a film on Scout Ranch, which is in the northern mountain range in New Mexico. And as we see, it's a very classic Ansel Adams shot. You know, these iconic open vistas of the American West, these unsoiled landscapes.
He focused on the West. Are there others who got inspiration from that?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, he is so influential. And this is the next image is by William Cliffs, who is, this was done in 1984. And this is also of the American West. It is in New Mexico. This is a photographer who worked, did most of his work in New Mexico. And like Ansel Adams, a lot of his work is very meditative and reflective, powerful, but still, you know, contemplative.
Now, what we've been seeing are photographs of, you know, the untouched natural beauty, if you will, of the country. But as we develop the country, is it harder to find places to go for these kinds of photographs?
Well, exactly. And I think this is what's so special about this exhibition. It's called Two Views, Contemporary American and International Landscapes. And what we do is you see that, you know, as man has settled the country and the world, it is touched and affected by what humans have done.
So what are we looking at now?
Okay, this is a 2009 series. This is one of the photographs in the series. This is by Jeff Browse, and it's called Railroad Landscape number 33. And what this is, this artist had found in his area in America, in Dutchess County, New York. This is, he looked over topographic maps and found that these are old railroad tracks. They're no longer there, but these were done in the 1900s. They're no longer there, but the landscape has been touched. As you see, these still have these converging lines leading off into the distance. The railroads are no longer there, but you still see that. And he's sort of talking about how, you know, humans have touched the landscape, and still nature can heal itself, but it's still, you know, affected a bit.
This is great. Now, when I go to the art museum, can I bring you with me to help explain all this? What's this next one here? Okay, now this you can really see. It's a really clear example of humans' effect on the land. And here, this is done in 2007. This is a photograph. This is in Romania. It's a highway in Romania. Oh. And as you see, it was actually, the highway was created between 1970 and 1974 for easy access in between the peaks and valleys there in case of a Soviet Union invasion. And we really see here how, with the undulating lines of the railway, of the road, and the twists and turns, how people have affected the natural landscape. Well, this is all great, and I appreciate your explaining this and giving us a preview, and we'll get some people out there, I think. Thank you. Enjoy the great outdoors while being indoors. This picture-perfect landscape exhibit will be on display until mid-August, and it lets you travel the country and, in fact, the world without ever leaving Cleveland. My thanks to Caroline Guscott for giving us the chance to create photographic memories, and if you go down there, maybe she'll give you a personal tour. Thanks, Caroline. Thank you so much.
Learn more by calling the Cleveland Museum of Art at 216-421-7350 or click to www.clevelandart.org. Next, don't let your spouse get cut out of an inheritance.
We're Gateway Title, keeping life simple. We can make it simple. We've got everything you need. See how easy selling your home can be. We're Gateway title. We're keeping life simple.
Did you miss any of the phone numbers we've given? Then get a pen and paper, because we're going to list all of the phone numbers from our guests again so you can have more time to write them down. And then I'll be back to tell you how to make sure your spouse gets your money in spite of a new estate law. You may have heard that the federal estate or death tax has been changed, and that's true, but you may not know that those changes may cut your spouse out of his or her inheritance. Here to explain this cutting-edge development is my cutting-edge law partner, Mike Solomon. Hello, Mike.
Hey, everybody.
Give us the basics of the new estate tax law.
Well, basically, under the new law, you can pass $5 million free of federal estate tax compared to $1 million under the law that existed a while ago.
So how can a spouse lose his or her inheritance by mistake?
Well, for example, back under the old law, you might have set up an estate plan that provided the use of a family trust, or sometimes called an A/B trust, and $1 million might go, the old number, to the family trust, and the rest would go to the surviving spouse. Well, sometimes in a second marriage, you might have provided a plan that provided that all the estate taxes are avoided on the first death. That would have meant $1 million went into the family trust, and the rest went to the surviving spouse, your second spouse. But now that the exemptions went from $1 million to $5 million, then all the money goes to the children in the family trust, and the surviving spouse may get nothing.
So, if I understand correctly, by setting up a fairly standard trust plan, you may have provided that an amount would go to the kids, basically.
The maximum amount you could send to the kids without having an estate tax.
And that would be the full amount, which you thought at the time might have been, $1 million. Right. And then the rest would go to the spouse. You thought that was $1 million. But now, since the numbers have changed, your spouse could get cut out.
That's right. So you need to look at your old documents and make sure they do what you want under the new law.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the advice. Congress just changed the estate tax laws again, and this time the law may cause your spouse to lose her or his inheritance. To make sure your wishes are still being followed, talk to your lawyer, and if you have questions for Mike, give him a call.
Call Budish, Solomon, Steiner, and Peck at 1-888-236-5173 for more information, or log on to www.budishandsolomon.com.